Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. We're sitting here on episode number 123, and we're in person, and I feel like I haven't seen you much this week.
I know, I haven't.
We've both been kind of under the weather and sick, and I've actually been kind of progressively getting a little bit worse. I don't know, just feeling like crap lately. Nothing like super symptomatic or anything, just took a couple days where I needed to sleep in and rest just because I was very, very worn down, and then getting a lot of like the sniffles and sore throat and just general cold type stuff.
Yeah, I hear you. I haven't had that. I've just been very, very busy. I had a few early mornings that I had to be out and on location, and they were pretty far away. So that two mornings were from that, and then one was from a late night that I didn't get back until late. Mm-hmm. So I missed 3 days of the gym this week, but surprisingly enough, I feel really good.
Well, there was a night, too, where I couldn't sleep, and I didn't get to sleep until probably about, 1 o'clock, which is the latest that I've been up since, for as long as I can remember, years.
Right.
And it kind of reared its ugly head the next morning then and the day after, where I was just kind of behind on sleep. And usually, I tell people that when you reach that burnout point, because everybody hits it occasionally, not chronic burnout, but just like an acute burnout where you're a couple days behind on sleep and it catches up to you where you need to take a day or two to kind of rejuvenate and just hit the reset button and have low stress levels, sleep in, eat a little bit more, hydrate a little bit better. Those days, unfortunately, and the bigger picture of being chronically inflamed and chronically fatigued and stressed, they catch up to you before, you recognize it or you're cognizant of it right when it's too late.
Yep.
So I've been trying to get better, and I've been doing this with training a little bit, where when it comes to my own workouts, where I know I've gotten pretty good at recognizing when I need a day off before.
Like forecasting it.
Yeah, for sure. Where I have a day, then I'm like, you know what? If I push it tomorrow, that's not going to be good. This is definitely has to be my last effective day in the tank. Whereas before it would be, I would show up, have an off day, and that was the signal. Whereas now I'm getting pretty good at
seeing that off day coming.
Yeah, the off day is going to be tomorrow because I'm just not going to be there physically or mentally. So I need to take it off. And I think that in terms of strength training and what our goals are, there is obviously a point of diminishing returns with everything. But I think that point is a lot quicker than people think.
Agreed. And it's funny because I used to never. I used to have to really listen to my body to take a day off. And that was negative all the time. I'd always end up not hurt, but with nagging injuries and stuff. And now I'm not to the point where I'm forecasting it.
Yeah.
So I have the off day and I'm like, okay, I got to take a day off because I don't want to push it too hard. So I'm one step behind you. Where I want to be is to be able to forecast that off day or, that day where you're like, okay, we need to take a day and relax and rest. It's almost like the underlying theme of this episode's recovery.
Yeah.
And knowing how to actually implement recovery days and stuff.
Well, and there's different parts to it too. When you think about recovery, it's not just your muscles. So the first thing that people gauge initially when they start working out is they gauge how sore they are, because obviously that's somewhat indicative of recovery to a degree. It's nuanced, though. It's not a perfect indicator of if you're sore, you're not recovered, and if you're not sore, you are recovered, because the opposites can be true in both instances. But it's more than just muscle tissue, because muscle tissue, truthfully, as long as your nutrition's fine, recovers pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more that goes into it. For example, your nervous system, which is going to be chronically stressed from everything that you do. And then the mental stress as well, because your body perceives stress very similarly, whether it's physical stress or emotional stress or mental stress. So a lot of us who are very, very busy, especially those who have high pressure jobs, so to speak, or jobs that are very, not necessarily physically risky, but could be, or where you're in a position of high power where there's a lot fringing on your decision making and stuff. Those are stressful situations.
Right.
and that will manifest itself physically in your performance. So you'll notice that like a lot of the greatest athletes and for example, bodybuilders, the ones that we're familiar with, are like very high dopamine, low stress individuals. Like they're very, very relaxed, and that's just how they are physiologically. Like their biochemistry is almost like set up for success to be able to relax and build muscle and make progress. So it really depends on the person, but you have to be pretty analytical and pretty self aware. I mean, that's like everything. Like we always talk about being self aware and understanding your body, understanding your mind, understanding your habits. So I think that recovery is the same way. It's a lot deeper than muscle soreness.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You got to be able to look at the whole picture and say, yeah, it's okay to take today.
Yeah.
Or even take tomorrow too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if that's what you need. If it's been that month where you've been working, you know, you're stressed out from work from 12-hour days or 14-hour days or whatever they are, and then you've also been training every day for an extended period of time, and your diet's really clean, your hydration might be a little off. You need to look at it and say, okay, listen to my body, I think that's like the best way to explain when you tell somebody to listen to their body, because I tell people all the time to listen to your body. If you need to take a day off, take a day off. But I've never known exactly how to explain it. But that just makes the most sense. It's just all around. If you're mentally wore out and your head's not in the game, that's just enough as much of a reason to take the day, that if your body's wore out and you physically just can't do it.
Yeah. And I think that there's varying degrees of individuality with that on what's necessary for people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many factors. For example, age can play a role. Like if you're younger, typically you can train with a little higher volume. And then as you age, again, this is a generalized overstatement here, just like a blanket statement, that as you get older, you tend to need more time allocated towards recovery.
Yes.
For whether it's orthopedic reasons or just for, CNS reasons or whatever. And I think that, like, unfortunately, there's no hard rules you can give with that, saying, oh, you need to train this many days and take this many days off for every 3 days that you lift or whatever. I mean, I know some people where they actually take more days off than they train. I think I've said before, the late, great John Meadows, I believe I remember him saying one time in an interview that his best progression from adding size standpoint, so from building muscle when he was in the gym, his best time period, I don't know if it was a period of months or years or whatever, but his best sample size of muscle gain was when he was only lifting 3 days a week, because he said the other days allowed him to eat more food, rest more, hydrate more, and just be better prepared for the workout. So I thought that was interesting. One thing my coach, Austin Stout, always says is he's told me before, you have to earn the right to only train a couple days a week. So essentially that's referring to like the intensity of your workout.
Right.
So the more intense and more rigorous and difficult your workout is, the more recovery you're going to need. Well, some people physically or mentally aren't able to tap into such a high level of training, especially when they're newer.
Right.
When you're new, it's hard to tap into the nervous system demands of, like, you can push yourself as hard as you want mentally, but there's a physical element that only comes with experience of being able to truly understand what it's like to go all in on like a set or something. And he always talks about earning the right to rest more. Like, you can't be new to strength training and lift 1 or 2 days a week and think that you did it hard and say, oh, I definitely need recovery days.
Right. Right. And so it's, I guess with understanding you have to have recovery time, there definitely is I guess this kind of ties into what you said Austin says, is earning the right to have recovery days. Definitely have to look at it and say there's a point when you're abusing recovery days too.
Of course. It's like everything.
I think we all do it eventually. At one point or another, it gets easier to say, oh man, I don't want to get up at 3:00 in the morning, so I'm going to take a day.
And I think as long as it's not habitual, it's not an issue. Exactly. Like, there are days where, and I'll flat out, clarify that to people like you guys, like, I don't want to go to the gym today.
Yeah.
Because mental recovery. Like,
right.
I think, at least to this point too, I tell people I've won enough shows where if I want to take a day off, I can take a day off.
I love it.
It's not a matter of, because you could look at it as, yeah, I could train today, but if I don't want to be there, that's like, if you're not in a position to where you want to be at the gym, then it's probably going to be difficult for you to accomplish anything.
Yeah, unless you're in a situation where your only goal is weight loss.
Yeah.
Where time on that treadmill or time on that, on that elliptical or time on that Stairmaster is going to literally feed your goal. That's the only thing that's going to do it, is that or outside doing something. If you don't want to be there, don't be there.
Well, it's not that every workout has to be balls to the wall, kill yourself.
No.
But there's going to be a point, especially as you get more experience, where going to the gym in a situation where you're less than optimal and you don't want to be there necessarily, there's going to be a point in your training where you get experienced enough to where subpar workouts aren't going to really do much for you.
Right.
Now, that's given in the proper context of understanding that there are days where a lower, slower pace, lower weight, more relaxed version of workout is what's best. But I don't know, recovery is just something, one thing that, to be completely honest, one thing that kind of changed my whole paradigm or outlook on training, and this has only been relatively recent, is focusing on everything to prepare for the workout. So you go through different phases, like in terms of what is the most important part of strength training or working out. Is it the workout itself, where that is the most important because that's where you're trying to progress? Is it the post-workout where you're trying to refuel and rehydrate and revolumize your cells from everything that had been broken down and recover that way? Is it the pre-workout where you're getting yourself, whether it's a hydration or electrolyte balance or whatever, or mentally getting ready for the workout? And I think that where I started to make a lot of progress, and even just mentally being in a good mindset, was understanding that everything I was doing was for the workout. So when I wake up in the morning, okay, I got to get 2 bottles of water, 500 milliliters each. So that's about a liter of water, and hydrate before I go to the gym. And I usually will have a little bit of an electrolyte supplement just to make sure that those are in check. And I have to make sure that I get a good night's sleep the night before in order to get ready. Right. So it's almost like everything that I'm doing on a regular basis is putting me in a good position for the workout, because the workout intensity or trying, the effort, quote unquote, given at the gym, yes, it's not an issue for me at this point in my career. And I know it's the same thing with you and the same thing with our training partners, because really it's not just a matter of going to the gym and trying hard. I think most people, even new people, have that down.
Yeah, they want it. If they're making the step to go, they're trying hard.
Yeah.
You just have to optimize the trying hard.
Well, when I look at people at our gym, and I'm sure it's like this at every gym, I see people that are continuously working super hard in the gym and not making progress. So it's not that they're not trying hard to go up in the bench press that week. It's the fact that they didn't do enough outside of the gym in order to prepare to go up, or they didn't do enough outside of the gym afterwards to recover from the last time they did it. Mm-hmm. And, I kind of put things in context now for me, where if I don't do something that I feel like I should have done or make the progress I should have made, I say, okay, I definitely didn't do what I was supposed to do outside.
Right.
It's not the inside stuff. I'm sure it's happened periodically, but very rarely do I ever go in the gym and say afterwards, man, I didn't make progress today, or I didn't get that lift, or I didn't do this because I just didn't feel like doing it, or because I was lazy. You know,
I see what you're saying.
Even the days that I feel a little bit off in the gym and I'm tired, again, that can circle right back around to I didn't get enough sleep.
Right.
So exactly. That was also my fault. So it seems like in the gym you can always point. Well, that's why I kind of feel that a lot of people gravitate towards the gym, because it's a nice opportunity for accountability, I guess, because it's always on you no matter what. Like, I can't blame anybody else if I don't do something.
Exactly. You know, I like it. I love like I guess the reason I love the gym so much is um for growth. Like cuz and it's kind of the same premise of what you're saying. It's like I enjoy thinking about okay, if I eat this pizza when I get up in the morning and go to the gym tomorrow, is that going to affect what I do? Yes, it is. You know, if I eat something bad the day before,
Uh-huh.
I already know. So I'm thinking about that. Like if I'm making the decision to eat something that I don't normally eat, I'm thinking about my workout the next day or the following day.
Yes.
Is this going to be fed? Is this going to feed my workout appropriately or not? Do I always make the right decision? Nope. Do I most of the time? Night. You know, the majority of the time, absolutely. Because we spend a lot of time doing this thing. We spend a lot of time thinking about it, talking about it, making plans, and executing those plans. If I'm not executing on my end, I'm wasting a lot of time. And as everybody knows, I don't like to waste time. So
Yeah, I've been pretty adamant about that too, is
yeah,
just from the fact that when I see people at the gym, and this is not, I don't try to tell people how to live their lives.
right,
And if you're going to the gym just recreationally because you like it, then more power to you. But I see a lot of people that give a ton of effort in the gym,
yeah,
again, like we talked about just recently, and they're pushing themselves very, very hard, and they're getting frustrated because they're not making progress. And ultimately, what I think about is that this is way too time consuming
hmm
and way too demanding, that why would you go to the gym and give this much effort and not make progress, or at least not be analytical about why you're not making progress, at least not try
right,
to problem solve. Don't just keep continuing to come and show up to the gym and hoping that progression is going to come from just brute force. Like, oh, I'm just going to push even harder. I'm going to push even harder. There's going to be a point where, okay, it's obviously not you pushing hard enough.
right.
You got to go back to the drawing board. And I think that that's important for everybody, no matter how inexperienced or experienced you are. Cause I think that we all kind of get in this mentality where we think we can outwork everything.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not the work; it's the tools. So sometimes it's not the work, and it's the tools in the toolbox.
Yep.
So make sure you're putting the right tools in your toolbox, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So sleep,
All right.
hydrate, and eat.
I think that's a good place to cut it and go to a commercial break. So let's go to a quick commercial and we'll talk training updates when we come back. As listeners of the Chasing Dreams podcast, we know that you demand the highest quality at all times. If you're interested in quality, look no further than Beast Mode Baking. Beast Mode Baking aims to bring the highest quality, creative, and of course delicious baked goods to your home with nationwide shipping. All orders need to be pre-ordered to ensure they're packed fresh and shipped out to you as soon as possible. Beast Mode Baking offers a flat rate of $15 for shipping due to the size and weight of the cookies and doughs. So if you're interested in Beast Mode Baking, please contact CEO Shannon Knorr. That's at SKNORR13 on Instagram and order your delicious baked goods today, because every time you support them, you're supporting the podcast as well. And we're back from our commercial break. All right, prior to the break, we kind of had an impromptu discussion about recovery and how important it is, and it really taps into both the physical realm and the mental realm too,
Yes.
of making sure that you're recovered and not burned out. And we talked about how most people, and it's taken me a long time to kind of fix this in myself, most people get to the point where they're burned out when it's too late.
Yeah.
They don't, like you said, they don't have the foresight or the foreshadowing to know that it's coming. You and I were kind of a little bit under recovered, whether it's mentally or physically this week. So
Yeah.
it's nice to have these kind of discussions retrospectively and look back and say, hey, this is what we need to fix. This is where we could improve on for next week or whatever. So training updates, not really a whole heck of a lot on my end.
Same. I mean, like I said, I was in the gym. I think I only trained one day this week. Well, yeah, one day.
Yeah, I'm going back through and I'm trying to recall, and I actually think I am the same. I think I lifted maybe 2 days this week, perhaps, if I'm going through, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I did too, because I did a buys and tries workout Wednesday at the house, but it was nothing crazy. It was more just I wanted to get moving, and I hadn't been in the weight room since Monday.
Yeah.
And I knew the back half of the week was going to be a little wild. So I just did a quick arms workout. But yeah, Monday was the last prescribed training that I had. Um, just schedule dictating this week.
That's what I do as well. Like, what I do is like you said, you mentioned the weekend being kind of hectic or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there are times, and this is counterintuitive to everything we just said about listening to your body. There are times when my body will tell me, hey, you might need to take today off, but I'll actually go in under the understanding that the next 2 days I'm going to be out of the gym traveling or out of the gym doing this or whatever.
Right.
So I kind of sometimes will push the limits a little bit just because logistically it works out better that way. And I mean, I'm like everybody else where there's times where if I take too much time off, I feel crappy, where you want to be in the gym. And I've had this discussion a lot as of late where it's about the fact that I like the gym too.
Yeah, I enjoy what we're doing.
So sometimes it's hard to take an off day, not because I feel like I'm losing progress or I should be in there, working hard or whatever. It's just because I enjoy being in there. Yeah. And I like sticking to the schedule a little bit more with a little higher degree of adherence and more regularity where I wake up at this time, go to the gym at this time. Well, when I don't go to the gym, I generally sleep in purposefully.
Yeah.
That's what I need is I need that extra sleep. So I do that because you can't take a rest day or a recovery day and not actively try to recover.
Yeah, so you got to sleep.
But that's, that could be a whole nother tangent in and of itself is what is, because that's been one of my things is I never take a day off from the gym and training in the morning if I work that morning.
Yeah.
Because I'm already up, I'm already awake, I don't want to say compromised, but there's no sense in me taking a recovery day if I can't fully dedicate it to recovery.
Right.
So the days that I take off are the days I don't have to work before school in the morning. And what I'll do is I'll sleep in. So I'm actively recovering by getting more sleep. And then I try to be cognizant. I try to be cognizant of my nutrition every day, of course, but I try to be a little bit more self-aware of how much water I'm drinking, increase movement capacity too. Ironically enough, I think that people would not expect that who aren't really familiar with how to recover properly. But I try to move more on my rest days because blood flow is recovery.
And that's not even really active recovery. That's just trying to get moving.
Yeah.
And stay moving.
Like if you do a heavy leg workout and your legs are destroyed the next day and they're all sore, generally speaking, what people want to do is sit on the couch and not do anything and not move because their legs hurt. And truthfully, probably the best prescription that you could recommend for someone would be to get up and use your legs.
Yeah.
Now, not go to the gym and train again, but yeah, like you said, go for a walk, get out, get moving, create more blood flow because that's what's going to help recover tissue is blood flow.
So do you think that's the reason why, because everybody says the third day is the worst. It's the third day after a heavy leg day or a heavy push or pull day that those muscles hurt worse at like the third day when you're first starting. So when you're in that long, really overly sore phase of training where you do legs and then the next day, oh man, that hurts. But the next day it's like, ooh, that's bad.
Well, there is, I think, to a degree, there is a physiological phenomenon known as DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, which is like an inflammatory process where the muscles do get sore regardless of what you do in a delayed nature.
Okay.
So there is physiology there. That's not necessarily anything that you can control by moving more or whatever. Now you can get less sore when it does hit, but in regards to it hitting a little bit later, I don't think that has anything to do with lifestyle, but what I do think has to do with lifestyle would be like joint stuff. So the tightness that comes from it. So the actual muscle soreness and the muscle hurting is predicated on physiological processes. But I think that if you talk about, oh, my knees hurt or my hips hurt, that's probably largely because of inactivity.
Yeah, inactivity.
So I think that you're making it worse by compounding the issue by allowing your joints to get stiff or whatever, at least in my experience.
I was gonna add inactivity and then what you eat, how much you drink, how much you sleep, how much you rest in general. But I guess you have to put that in context that you can't eat great this week and expect to be great next week. You got to eat solid you have to be controlled all the time.
Yeah, it's habit stacking.
Yeah.
Like I hear about that all the time. My chiropractor, Dr. Ryan, says it, and I've heard a bunch of successful people talk about it. Habit stacking.
Yeah.
Like I've mentioned numerous times that when I work with people in the online space and we're trying to develop nutrition programs for them and exercise programs for them, especially when it's people who've never done anything, we start very, very basic, and I give them almost like one or two homework assignments that they have to do. Like, hey, drink this amount of water, eat breakfast. Don't eat breakfast. It depends on the scenario, whatever. Where I kind of give people hard rules to follow that are very, very basic. And I do that for a couple of weeks and only that. And the reason it's so simple and broken down so succinctly is just because of the fact that you want to create a habit.
Right.
So it takes a long time for something to become habitual to where you don't think about it. I mean, like brushing your teeth, for example. You don't think about it. It's just something you do every morning, but you don't think, oh, I have to remember to brush my teeth tomorrow morning. It just happens organically just because you've done it for so long. So the habit stacking things are very, very important, especially when it comes to
diet,
recovery and nutrition and stuff. So you can say, I'm gonna have proper hydration and I'm going to get my electrolytes in and make sure that I'm well fueled with a carbohydrate source to fuel my workout. And that's going to help to a degree. But what's going to help more is all the things you've done for the past 3 weeks to get ready for this. Like I know where I've talked to people and people have said, about preparing for an event. So like, oh, I have an obstacle course race or I have a big run tomorrow. I'm going to carb load on something slow digesting like pasta and fuel overnight. And that's going to be beneficial, sure. But it's a process that should have started long before because the way that the body digests foods and assimilates nutrients and stuff, you're better off like take carving up before a bodybuilding show. Most people are under the impression that you do it right before you hit the stage, which I do. But that process starts with fat loading and then carb loading throughout the whole week for me most of the time. Now everybody's different because some people might be a little bit more sensitive to that, so they have to hold on to the last minute, or there's times when you're trying to make weight, so you have to hold off a little bit. But for me, I'm trying to start that process early in the week, like Tuesday, Wednesday for a Saturday show. So again, foresight to recovery helps, or not necessarily recovery, but performance too.
Right.
Because it's all interlocked. But I don't think that you're going to be able to do that to a high degree unless the things that you're doing are habitual. Like for me, the first thing I do, like I said, every morning when I wake up is I immediately go get water.
Yeah.
And I hydrate. And then I take some morning supplements with that water. And that's before I do anything, before I get dressed, before I brush my teeth, before I shower, if I shower, before the gym, whatever it is. That is the first thing that I do all the time, every time.
That's literally like the biggest evolution in my like prep in life. From when I was unhealthy to now, is my like lunch packing for the morning because it's, I think I'll forever call it packing my lunch because I don't, old dogs don't learn new tricks, but it used to be lots of food, soda, cookies, cakes, and candies.
Yeah.
Now I have a big jug of water, two smaller big jugs of water and 2 protein shakes and a green shake, and that's it. And it's like, it's still a lot of process. Like that's my first thing I do in the morning is fill up all my jugs of water because water's key to me. It's it's the whole thing. It's the binder almost for me to keep everything moving. I'm drinking my water, everything else just kind of falls into place when it's supposed to.
Yeah. And I think that when you do healthy habits, they eliminate bad habits too. Yeah. Like drinking more water, what it usually does for people is eliminates the opportunity for them to drink unhealthy stuff.
Right.
So you don't even have, I think honestly, to be fair, one of the best starting places for people, and I've talked about this before with like newer clients, one of the best things you can do for people, or if you're trying to start out in like something health related, instead of trying to get rid of your bad habits, try to stack good habits first.
Right.
Because, so like, let's say I drink a lot of pop and I want to start drinking more water, something foundationally healthy that's very, very simple for the fact or the premise of what we're trying to say. So there's 2 ways you could do this. I could drink more water, or I could drink less pop. If you drink less pop, that's good because you're putting less, quote, bad stuff in your body, but there's generally no replacement. You're just not drinking less pop.
Right.
Versus if you're drinking water or trying to increase your water intake, not only are you putting healthy stuff in now, but then you're also eliminating the bad stuff because you're so busy drinking water. You're full from the water, whatever. So it makes more sense, and there's psychology at play as well. We've talked about that. It makes more sense to me to try to do good habits first than take away bad habits.
Right.
Because I think that systemically, the bad habits are going to slowly get eliminated the more good habits you put in. So if you have a bad habit of drinking and you want to replace that with the gym, don't just try to stop drinking because you may not go to the gym, but go to the gym first and try to spend time there because that will take away from the drinking also.
Right. And
so
increase your water.
Yeah. So I think that the best way to do it, in my opinion, and everybody's different, and I'm sure that there's individuality, of course, like there always is with stuff. I think that most people are better served if they try to stack the good habits versus eliminate the bad when they're first starting.
Right.
At least that's how I've approached it for me. That's how I've approached it when guiding other people, and that formula has worked. So kind of like the old adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If I get results that way, then I'm going to kind of continue to stick to it.
Yeah, and I've got plenty of results following your methods. So I'm in the same camp that it's easier to add. You know, that's what you told me when I first started with you. It's easier to add than it is to take away.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna add water. We're gonna add vegetables. We're gonna add lean proteins. We're gonna add good quality sources of carbohydrates. And then whatever is left of your day, if you want to eat bad stuff, go for it. But you're not going to be hungry. You're not going to be thirsty. You're not going to want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of how I do it now. You know, when I'm programming and doing my own thing, I don't have a set diet. I have a set amount of things that I have to eat. I have to drink. It's my rules to live by. And if anything else fits in there, good. But I don't think it will because I'm pretty well full.
Yeah. And I think that's a good place to provide the opportunity for actionable steps for people. You know, try to create some good habit this week.
Yeah.
So before the next time we speak to you on the next episode, you know, and I'll do the same. I'll try to come up with something that I'm not doing right now that I should be doing in terms of a healthy habit. Because unknowingly, there's something out there that I need to do. And not unknowingly, but I'm not well aware of it because I'm not thinking about it actively. But there's something out there that I should be doing, and I guarantee when I start doing it, it's going to eliminate some bad habits that I have right now that I don't even realize I have.
Yeah.
It's going to be taken away.
I'll do the same. I already know what mine's going to be. It's going to be hard because one day this week I'm definitely not going to be able to do it, but I will try to include a new good habit into my day.
Good. So let's make a note mentally or literally on paper or somewhere, digitally, let's make a note to remind ourselves to talk about our actionable step. And it doesn't have to be recovery. I think that was kind of a good place to start just because we had that conversation about it prior. But try to find one good habit this week that you're not doing. And even if you're an advanced athlete or someone who's advanced in health, and it doesn't necessarily have to be health related or fitness related, it could be a business habit. Could be a social habit of reaching out to family members that, you know, every day contact one family member they've been spoken to in a while or whatever. So try to have one good habit that you implement this week, and then we'll talk about what we did, and hopefully we can get some engagement from our listeners and they can tell us what they did as well.
Yeah, sounds good. I like it.
All right. So with that, we have come to the end of another episode of the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. This has been episode 123. As always, we appreciate your listenership, and we look forward to hearing back from you guys next week.
Unbreakable, unstoppable, I'm pushed to the edge.